Well. Welcome back, everyone. Another fine Tuesday morning. It was definitely a later night. A lot of games to watch, part of the job, but well worth it. A lot of exciting games we'll be talking about today. But in today's episode, we're going to be finishing off the AFC East kind of early main offseason roundup, as pretty much all the really good players have signed. The draft is over. And then we did the Patriots Bills yesterday. Make sure to check that out if you haven't. And today we're going to finish off with the Dolphins and Jets. And I guess we can go into the Dolphins first. Kind of quick recap on their season. It's been the same story with the Dolphins last 2 years. Got off to a hot start beginning of the year. Tua's getting MVP votes. People think he's the real thing. And then he's a good QB, but they kind of faltered down the end. They choked the division away last year to Buffalo. They had like a 5-game lead, it felt like, with 7 weeks to go, and they lost it. Just kind of and then they went into Kansas City and kind of got blown out. The cold weather, kind of Dolphins seemed to struggle. Their offense kind of dwindles, this high-powered offense. And kind of when we look at their moves early on this offseason, they lost a lot of players. Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle, went to the Raiders. Robert Hunt, guard, got paid by the Carolina Panthers to try and help out Bryce Young. Xavier Howard left them. Definitely nowhere near where he was, but he was, a cornerback that was with them for a while and had his peak in 2020. He was an interception machine for them. And scrappy players like linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel went to the Vikings. Kind of a do-it-all guy. And kind of some of their key free agent pickups was Jordan Poyer, the safety from Buffalo, kind of on the older side nonetheless. But he's always been, Buffalo's security blanket in the back end there. And then Shaq Barrett from the Buccaneers. Then they arguably got the best free agent cornerback. It wasn't really a great free agent cornerback class in Kendall Fuller. Where do you want to start with this, Nick, on a grade-wise for the Dolphins in the draft as well?
Looking at their offseason, it didn't really seem like they added huge key pieces. They did add veterans like Jordan Poyer and Kendall Fuller. But you also just mentioned they lost a bunch of key players. I think Andrew Van Ginkel is super underrated. I think he's going to do very well in Minnesota.
Hope so.
But sorry, the overall grade I'd give them for this offseason is probably C or C+. I mean, they didn't do anything that really put them over that hump that they're trying to get over when it comes to, like you said, finishing out the year, finishing out the hot starts that they get off to, because in the warm weather, we see how good they are. They put up 70 points on the Broncos. Tyreek Hill goes insane. And then they kind of just start to falter as the season goes on. Weather gets colder, games get bigger. It seems like the moment kind of gets too big for a lot of the guys. And it starts with Tua. It always starts with the quarterback. And they're trying to get him the help, but I'd still probably give them a C+. I don't think they added everything they needed to add.
Yeah. So at this grading thing, it's rumored this offseason they're looking to sign Tua to an extension that would pay him around $50 million plus. And that's what makes you lose these great players in a Christian Wilkins, Robert Hunt, Van Ginkel, because you can't afford to pay everyone when you're paying a quarterback $50 million. And it begs the question, you think obviously they'll pay him. But this might be a hot take. I'm not paying him $50 million. He has not proven to me that he can be a franchise QB yet. I know the first year injuries first year with McDaniel, injuries kind of riled him towards the end. But this year he was healthy. The supporting cast was there for him, and he kind of implodes in these big games. And he's not a riser to the occasion. He's kind of one of those QBs everything around him is working good, then he'll be doing good. But he can't elevate you when everything's when everyone's struggling and you're oh, Tua, we need you to just make a huge play here to bring us back into this game. I would have looked earlier this offseason if I'm trying to keep some of these key players to move off of him. Clearly, they chose a different route. it kind of, I want to ask you this question. Would, like, if you're the GM and Tua is going to sit out in OTAs because his contract, do you want him playing, or would you sign him?
Not for 50 mil a year. I mean, just thinking about it, if you give the $50 million quarterbacks in this league the weapons he has, they're probably going at least to the conference, to the AFC or NFC final, depending on what quarterback you're looking at. But just Tua hasn't done enough with the weapons he's been given. They got him Tyreek Hill. They drafted Jalen Waddle, who's incredible.
Yeah, he was.
They've kind of built up that O-line a little bit for him. Unfortunately, he's had to go through some injuries, which probably set him back. Obviously, the concussions were not good, but no, I'm not giving him anywhere close to that. You just said it. You hit the nail on the head when you said that he's yet to elevate everybody around him. It's kind of like, it reminds me of a little bit of Jimmy Garoppolo,
Yeah.
Surrounded by a great team, so he constantly is winning. But in big games like we saw in the Super Bowl, when he needs to step up and make a big play for his team, he couldn't do it.
Yeah, and the only thing, speaking of like Jimmy G, as he was the San Francisco 49ers quarterback, the reason why San Francisco is able to, be able to get all these key pieces like a Brandon Ayuk, a Deebo Samuel, a Nick Bosa, trade for Chase Young, is because they have that rookie scale contract, and that's what's so valuable in this league. And also another reason why, like, I think the Michael Penix pick was so stupid, because you're wasting that rookie scale value where you can afford these key pieces. And the Dolphins kind of missed that window with Tua. The first 2 years, maybe it was Brian Flores' coaching as a head coach, but the last two, they've kind of just faltered down the stretch, just kind of on the quarterback play. I mean, 7 points in a wild card game, you're not going to win that game, obviously, in Kansas City. So, yeah, I think it's an unfortunate situation for the Dolphins that they kind of have a murky future, in my opinion. I think they're a team that was like 9 or 10 wins and like is going to be around there. Like, they're not going to, surprise all of a sudden win 13 games next year. But they're obviously not bad enough to draft like a Shedeur Sanders next year if you're looking to get that rookie scale contract again. In my opinion, that's how I think it should go.
I mean, I see the Dolphins as a team who's like right there. They need one piece to get over the hump. And it's kind of like what we saw in 2012, 2013 with the Chiefs, where they had Alex Smith, who was a good quarterback. Like, he got the job done a lot of the times, but they never could win that big game, have that guy that elevates, and then all of a sudden they get Patrick Mahomes, and look where they are now.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see, because this defense did lose. Like I said, Christian Wilkins, who was their nose tackle, got paid by the Raiders. We'll see how their new quarterbacks hold up. But yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see. My prediction, I know we'll do like records and stuff, maybe a tier list later down this line, but I think they're going to be around the same spot they have been. They didn't do anything to improve. Didn't get much worse. But they probably did get a little bit worse, in my opinion. So yeah, I'll go like C minus, in my opinion. I didn't think it was a good offseason for them. With that being said, we'll transition to a team I know I'll give a better grade for, the New York Jets. Some of the key moves they did this offseason after, obviously, last season disaster right from the start. Aaron Rodgers goes down, torn Achilles, doesn't come back. We got the Zach Wilson experience. I forgot who else was playing for them, like Trevor Siemian. It was
Tim Boyle.
Yeah, we got the Tim Boyle experience. But they still scrapped their way to, what was it, like 6 wins, almost 7?
I mean, their defense still, I think, is one of the better defenses in the league. Obviously, they have Sauce, Quinnen Williams.
Oh, yeah.
They had Bryce Huff, who
Diggs
this offseason, but their defense kind of held it together for them, but their offense that just could not produce. As bad as the Patriots were, I'm pretty sure the Jets were right there with them when it comes to production.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so their defense, they did lose Bryce Huff. That was a big sacks guy for them last year, but they came in, trade for Hassan Reddick from the Philadelphia Eagles to fill that role. I think that'll be perfect. And on offense, they helped Aaron Rodgers get some weapons, acquiring Mike Williams in free agency from the Chargers. Injured most of last year, but we know what he is. He's a good deep ball guy, can make those contested catches. Doesn't get too much separation, but he's a weapon for him. To a perfect number 2, I would say, to go along with Garrett Wilson, who's already a stud. You already got Brees Hall, and then they added Tyron Smith from the Cowboys. When he's healthy and on the field, he's one of the best left tackles in the game, and one of the best left tackles just to help protect Aaron Rodgers' blind side.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, kind of an addition in of itself will be Aaron Rodgers coming back. We'll see how he looks coming off this torn Achilles at his age. I don't know how old he is, like 39 or something. But if everything clicks and everyone's healthy, I think they nailed this offseason. Got Rodgers some help bolster that defense. Keep Robert Saleh is a great defensive mind. My only question mark is I would have liked to have seen an OC change because if I'm not mistaken, Nathaniel Hackett is still there.
Yep.
I'm not sure he's quite the guy that should be calling plays for this team, even if Aaron Rodgers loves him. So with that being said, I would still give this like a solid B+ because I think this offseason was good for the Jets and they are a better team. But it's the Jets, so we'll have to see it first before we can believe it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sitting around the same grade. I'm sitting on a B. They added the O-line. I think Mike Williams has a very high ceiling with Aaron Rodgers, but a very low floor because of just his injuries. Like, unfortunately, if he plays, 3 games for them, that's not really helping him. But drafting Fashionow, I love that. I know people – I was hearing a lot of talk about maybe them taking Brock Bowers, which I didn't really think they needed at the time. I think they need to work on building that line to protect Rodgers. But yeah, I'm sitting on a B. I think they'll, if everybody stays healthy, knock on wood, I think they'll. I can see them finishing second in the AFC East.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the Jets were great in the draft. Being able to trade down only 1 pick with the Vikings and getting back some good capital, like I believe a 4th rounder and something else, that was great. But that's what the desperation of quarterbacks does in the draft. Teams are desperate, got to get your guy. So the Jets took advantage of that and got their guy, but they clearly would have been there at 10 or 11. So, the Jets made good work this offseason, and I know they just want a competent quarterback there, and so hopefully Aaron Rodgers can provide that this offseason.
Yeah.
But, we're looking at a potential wildcard team, I would say right now. We'll see once we get more news on, like, training camp and stuff, how everything's going. But I think it's an exciting time to be a Jets fan. Just no more Zach Wilson, but I don't ever think of rookie QB was right for this team because Robert Saleh is a defensive mind. Nathaniel Hackett can't develop for shit besides just Aaron Rodgers being there. So it was never a right fit for Zach Wilson. And I think Aaron Rodgers can just do his thing. He's got the weapons, can be kind of his own coach. And I think they'll be fine, at least for the regular season.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, Adam. You didn't think Nathaniel Hackett's the right guy, and I agree with you. But when you're, an organization like the Jets who really haven't seen quarterback success since, like, maybe Chad Pennington or Mark Sanchez, if you want to call it that, and then all of a sudden you get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you're going to do everything you can to make him happy, and that's bringing in whatever OC he wants. We saw it last year, bringing in the receivers he wants. They brought in Lazard. They brought in Cobb. We saw how that worked when Rodgers wasn't on the field. It did not.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I feel like players get too much power at some points.
Yeah,
and I get it for the Jets, but Randall Cobb, like what? Like
I mean,
he's just following Aaron Rodgers around, and Alan Lazard struggled last year. It really shows kind of sometimes too much player power, I think.
That's I think the sole reason why Tim Boyle's still in the NFL is because Aaron Rodgers likes him. Because I'm pretty sure
Aaron Rodgers likes him because he knows he's not a threat to take his spot.
He's just going to help him out on the bench, help him read plays. But I'm pretty sure in college, Tim Boyle threw more picks than touchdowns.
Yep.
And it wasn't a lot of touchdowns. So, yeah, it's just, you are right. Players have way too much power. But again, when you're a team like the Jets who haven't seen quarterback success in so long, you're like so desperate for it. And all of a sudden you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers who wants to come play for you, who has publicly said he wanted to go to the Jets. They finally get him. The fans are, hooting and hollering, celebrating. We have friends at school who who are so excited for him, and they're going to do everything they can to make him happy. And in hindsight, that's going to hurt the team. Like in the future, hurt the team.
I mean, if I'm the Jets, I'm looking at maybe this year, next year to be any sort of year to compete because with Aaron Rodgers' age, he's getting up there. So you got to be ready. If I'm the Jets, like this is the time. But we'll see. I mean, only time will tell. But yeah, they're kind of all in for unfortunately last year due to an injury couldn't work out. But if it doesn't work out this year, I don't think it ever will for the Jets. So
you're right.
So with that being said, unless there's anything you want to add, we can finish this up. And then tomorrow we'll be reviewing a couple AFC North teams. We'll be heading down there. But yeah, that sums up our Miami Dolphins and New York Jets free agency breakdown. And thank you guys all for listening. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.